Rain poured heavily across the streets of Chicago, while 9-year-old Emily Carter sat quietly near the back corner of the laundromat, where her mother worked almost every day. The small building was filled with the loud sounds of washing machines, steam, and tired customers coming in and out. Emily had spent hundreds of evenings there after school, because her mother could not afford a babysitter. Sarah Carter moved from machine to machine, folding clothes as quickly as possible. Even though her face looked pale from exhaustion, her hands were rough from chemicals and hot water. But she never complained. Every few minutes, she forced herself to smile at customers, while hiding the pain growing inside her body. Emily noticed things other people ignored. She noticed how her mother secretly leaned against the wall whenever nobody was looking. She noticed how Sarah quietly coughed into her sleeve, so customers would not hear. Some nights, her mother skipped dinner and pretended she had already eaten. During work breaks, Emily understood the truth. Even at her young age, money was disappearing faster than they could earn it. Since Emily's father died in a construction accident 3 years earlier, Sarah had been carrying the entire weight of life alone. Rent, electricity, groceries, school supplies, everything depended on her endless working hours. Despite being tired beyond words, Sarah always told Emily, "We'll be okay, sweetheart." That Friday evening became worse than usual. The laundromat was overcrowded because of the weekend rush, and Sarah had been working for almost 12 straight hours. As she lifted a heavy basket filled with wet blankets, her legs suddenly weakened beneath her. The basket slipped slightly from her hands, and she nearly collapsed onto the floor. Emily immediately jumped from her chair and ran toward her mother. With fear in her eyes, Sarah quickly steadied herself. Before anyone noticed too much, "I'm okay," she whispered softly, though her breathing sounded painful. Emily held her mother's arm tightly and realized her hands were ice cold. Even standing still seemed difficult for her now. Yet she continued, forcing herself to work. A few moments later, the laundromat owner, Mr. Howard, walked across the room. With frustration written across his face, instead of asking whether Sarah needed help, he glanced at the growing line of customers and sighed impatiently. "Sarah, we can't keep slowing down during busy hours," he said sharply. Sarah lowered her eyes and apologized immediately. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll work faster." Emily stared at him in disbelief. Her mother could barely stand, but she was still apologizing for being sick. Something inside Emily's heart broke at that moment. She looked at her exhausted mother, folding clothes with trembling hands, and realized nobody was going to protect her. If someone wanted to help her mother, maybe that person had to be her. The next morning, Emily could not stop thinking about her mother's exhausted face from the night before. Sarah was still sleeping on the couch when Emily quietly got dressed for school. Usually her mother woke up before sunrise, no matter how tired she felt, but this time she looked completely drained. Emily stood beside her for a long moment, watching the dark circles under her eyes and listening to her weak coughing. Then she made a decision. No child her age should ever have to make. Instead of going directly to school, Emily walked through the cold Chicago streets toward the laundromat. Her small hands trembled from nervousness as she pushed open the glass door and headed upstairs to Mr. Howard's office. The secretary looked surprised when she saw the little girl standing there, alone with her backpack. "Honey, employees aren't allowed upstairs during work hours," she said gently. Emily swallowed hard but refused to leave. "Please, I only need 1 minute," she whispered. Something in her voice made the secretary pause before finally allowing her inside. Mr. Howard sat behind his large desk, reviewing paperwork when Emily entered the room. He barely looked up at first. "What is it?" he asked impatiently. Emily clutched her backpack straps tightly as tears slowly filled her eyes. Then, with a shaking voice that almost broke halfway through, she asked, "Can you please let Mommy rest just one day?" The question instantly filled the office with silence. Mr. Howard finally looked directly at her and noticed how serious and frightened she seemed. Emily wiped her cheeks, but continued speaking before she lost courage. "She works when she's sick. She works when she cries, and at night. She thinks I'm asleep, but I hear her coughing." Mr. Howard shifted uncomfortably in his chair, while the little girl spoke with heartbreaking honesty. "Mom says if she misses work, we might lose our apartment." Emily whispered, "I don't want toys or birthday presents. I just want my mommy to sleep." Her voice cracked completely at the final sentence, and even the secretary standing outside the office lowered her head emotionally. For the rest of the day, Emily's words echoed endlessly inside Mr. Howard's mind that evening. After closing the laundromat, he quietly followed Sarah and Emily home from a distance. When they entered an old apartment building in one of Chicago's poorest neighborhoods, he felt uneasy. The hallway lights flickered weakly, and the walls were cracked from years of neglect. Through the partially open apartment door, he saw something that deeply shocked him. Sarah placed a small bowl of soup in front of Emily, while pretending she had already eaten. At work, the apartment was nearly empty, except for old furniture, unpaid bills, and a broken heater, struggling against the winter cold. For the first time, Mr. Howard finally understood the painful reality. Sarah had been hiding every single day.